The 1970 World Cup final between Brazil and Italy in Mexico City on June 21 stands as one of football's most perfect displays of attacking prowess and technical brilliance. Brazil entered the tournament with a team featuring Pelé, who was playing in his third World Cup, alongside emerging talents like Jairzinho, Tostão, and Carlos Alberto. The team played a style of football that combined individual skill with collective understanding, creating moments of beauty that redefined what was possible on a football pitch. Their 4-1 victory over Italy in the final was highlighted by Carlos Alberto's goal, a move that began with Tostão's touch and involved 8 Brazilian players before Alberto finished with a thunderous shot from outside the penalty area. Pelé contributed 1 goal and multiple assists throughout the match while demonstrating why he was considered the greatest player of his generation. The Brazilian team's performance throughout the tournament was characterized by attacking football that prioritized creativity and flair over defensive pragmatism. This World Cup victory secured Brazil's 3rd title and allowed them to permanently keep the Jules Rimet Trophy, while Pelé became the only player to win 3 World Cups. The 1970 Brazil team is still regarded as the greatest national team ever assembled, and their style of play influenced generations of footballers and coaches worldwide. Diego Maradona's performance during the 1986 World Cup in Mexico elevated him to legendary status through a combination of individual brilliance and controversial moments that defined his career. Argentina entered the tournament with modest expectations despite Maradona's talent, as they faced strong competition from Brazil, France, and West Germany. Maradona's quarterfinal performance against England on June 22 featured 2 goals that became part of football folklore for completely different reasons. His first goal came from a handball that referee Ali bin Nasser failed to detect, with Maradona later claiming it was scored by the hand of God and partly by the head of Maradona. 4 minutes later, he scored what many consider the greatest goal in World Cup history, dribbling past 5 English players from his own half before beating goalkeeper Peter Shilton. The goal showcased Maradona's exceptional dribbling ability, balance, and finishing skills while demonstrating how individual talent could overcome organized defensive systems. Argentina's path to the championship included victories over Uruguay, Belgium, and West Germany in the final, with Maradona providing assists and crucial plays throughout their run. He finished the tournament with 5 goals and 5 assists, leading Argentina to their 2nd World Cup title and cementing his status as one of football's greatest players. Maradona's 1986 World Cup remains a testament to how a single player's extraordinary talent and determination could carry an entire nation to glory. The 1998 World Cup final between France and Brazil at the Stade de France on July 12 became one of the most shocking and controversial matches in tournament history due to the mystery surrounding Ronaldo's condition before kickoff. Brazil entered as favorites with a team featuring Ronaldo, who had been the tournament's standout player, alongside Rivaldo, Roberto Carlos, and Cafu. Hours before the final, Ronaldo suffered a mysterious medical episode that left his participation in doubt, with teammates reporting seizure-like symptoms that required medical attention. Despite the health scare, Ronaldo was surprisingly included in the starting lineup after initially being removed from the team sheet, creating confusion and concern among players and staff. France capitalized on Brazil's unsettled state with Zinedine Zidane scoring 2 headers in the first half, taking advantage of defensive lapses that were uncharacteristic of the Brazilian team. The French team, playing in front of their home crowd, delivered a performance that combined technical skill with tactical discipline under coach M. Jacquet's guidance. Emmanuel Petit added a 3rd goal in stoppage time to complete a 3-0 victory that gave France their first World Cup title and sparked celebrations across the country. Zidane's 2-goal performance established him as the tournament's defining player and demonstrated his ability to perform on football's biggest stage. The match remains controversial due to the circumstances surrounding Ronaldo's fitness and the questions that were never fully answered about what happened in the hours before kickoff. The 1954 World Cup final in Bern, Switzerland on July 4th became known as the Miracle of Bern as West Germany achieved one of the greatest upsets in World Cup history by defeating the heavily favored Hungarian team 3-2. Hungary entered the final having not lost a match in 4 years and featuring a team built around Ferenc Puskás, Sandor Kocsis, and Josef Bošík that had revolutionized football tactics and technique. The Hungarian team had defeated West Germany 8-3 during the group stage, making their superiority appear overwhelming and their victory in the final seem inevitable. Hungary took an early 2-0 lead through goals from Puskás and Zoltán Zabor, confirming pre-match expectations and putting West Germany in a seemingly hopeless position. However, the Germans responded with goals from Max Morlock and Helmut Rahn within 6 minutes, demonstrating resilience and tactical adjustments that caught Hungary off guard. Rahn scored the winning goal in the 84th minute, completing one of the most dramatic comebacks in World Cup history and giving West Germany their first title. The victory had profound significance beyond football, as it provided West Germany with a sense of national pride and international recognition during their post-war reconstruction period. This match demonstrated how mental strength and tactical flexibility could overcome superior talent and established the foundation for West Germany's future World Cup successes. The 1990 World Cup semi-final between England and West Germany at the Stadio dell'Alpi in Turin on July 4th provided one of the most emotionally charged matches in tournament history, ending in heartbreak for England after a penalty shootout. England had reached their first World Cup semi-final since 1966 under manager Bobby Robson, with the team built around Gary Lineker's goal-scoring and the midfield creativity of Paul Gascoigne.
At the back of the three, it's direct, and it's been deflected, and it's in the net!
The drama intensified during extra time when Gascoigne received a yellow card that would have ruled him out of a potential final, leading to his famous tears that captured the emotion of World Cup football. The penalty shootout saw both teams convert their first 3 attempts before Stuart Pearce and Chris Waddle missed for England, sending West Germany to the final and ending England's tournament dreams. Gascoigne's tears became an iconic image that represented both the joy and heartbreak inherent in World Cup competition, while also marking a cultural moment in English football. The defeat was particularly painful given England's strong performance throughout the tournament and their belief that they could capture their second World Cup title. This match highlighted how penalty shootouts could create heroes and villains in a matter of moments while demonstrating the fine margins that separate World Cup glory from devastating disappointment. The 1950 World Cup final pool match between Uruguay and Brazil at the Maracana Stadium in Rio de Janeiro on July 16 created one of the most stunning upsets in World Cup history. Brazil needed only a draw to win their first World Cup title in front of a home crowd of nearly 200,000 people at the newly constructed Maracana Stadium. The atmosphere was celebratory before kickoff as Brazilian newspapers had already printed congratulatory messages and the mayor of Rio had prepared victory speeches for what seemed like an inevitable triumph. Uruguay entered the match as significant underdogs despite their previous World Cup victories in 1930 and having defeated Sweden 3-2 in their previous match. Brazil took the lead through Friaca in the 47th minute, sending the massive crowd into raptures and appearing to confirm expectations of Brazilian victory. However, Uruguay responded with goals from Juan Alberto Schiaffino in the 66th minute and Alcides Guja in the 79th minute, stunning the crowd into silence and completing one of football's greatest comebacks. The defeat was so traumatic for Brazil that it became known as the Maracanazo and led to lasting changes in Brazilian football culture, including the adoption of yellow jerseys to replace their previous white uniforms. Uruguay's victory demonstrated how experience and mental strength could overcome home advantage and superior individual talent, while establishing the World Cup's reputation for producing unpredictable and dramatic results. The 1966 World Cup final between England and West Germany at Wembley Stadium on July 30th produced one of the most controversial and celebrated moments in football history through Geoff Hurst's disputed goal that helped deliver England their only World Cup title. England had reached the final playing on home soil with a team managed by Alf Ramsey and built around Captain Bobby Moore's leadership and defensive solidity. The match remained tied 2-2 after 90 minutes, with England's Martin Peters and West Germany's Wolfgang Weber trading late goals that sent the game into extra time. Hurst's second goal struck the crossbar and bounced down near the goal line, with referee Gottfried Dienst consulting linesman Tawfik Baramov before awarding the goal despite German protests. The decision remains debated to this day, with modern technology suggesting the ball may not have completely crossed the line, though Baramov's judgment stood and changed World Cup history. Hurst completed his hat-trick in the final moments with England's fourth goal, becoming the first and only player to score 3 goals in a World Cup final. The victory sparked massive celebrations across England and established Hurst, Moore, and goalkeeper Gordon Banks as national heroes who had delivered the country's greatest sporting achievement. This final demonstrated how controversial decisions and individual moments of brilliance could combine to create lasting football legends while highlighting the fine margins that determine World Cup glory. The 1982 World Cup semi-final between France and West Germany in Seville on July 8 featured one of the most dramatic penalty shootouts in tournament history after a match filled with controversy and spectacular goals. The game became infamous for Harald Schumacher's brutal foul on Patrick Battiston in the 57th minute, a collision that left the French player unconscious and missing teeth while the German goalkeeper escaped punishment. France had taken a 3-1 lead in extra time through goals from Marius Trésor and Alain Giresse, with Michel Platini orchestrating attacks that seemed destined to send them to their first World Cup final since 1958. West Germany demonstrated remarkable resilience by scoring twice in the final 7 minutes of extra time through Karl-Heinz Rummenigge and Klaus Fischer, forcing the match to a penalty shootout. The shootout proceeded to sudden death after both teams converted their first 4 penalties, with Horst Hrubesch scoring the decisive penalty for West Germany after Didier's 6th shot was saved by Schumacher. The defeat was particularly heartbreaking for France as they had appeared certain to reach the final after dominating much of the match and taking their extra-time lead. This match highlighted how penalty shootouts could create cruel endings to brilliant performances while demonstrating the mental strength required to succeed under World Cup pressure. The controversy surrounding Schumacher's foul also sparked discussions about player protection and referee decision-making that influenced future tournament regulations. The 1994 World Cup final between Brazil and Italy at the Rose Bowl in Pasadena on July 17 became the first World Cup final decided by a penalty shootout, ending with one of the most dramatic moments in tournament history. The match featured 2 of football's most successful nations meeting in a final that was expected to showcase attacking brilliance but instead became a tactical battle characterized by defensive caution. Brazil's team included Romario and Bebeto, who had formed a deadly partnership throughout the tournament, while Italy featured Roberto Baggio, who had carried his team to the final with exceptional individual performances. The 120 minutes of regulation and extra time produced few clear chances as both teams prioritized defensive solidity over attacking risk-taking, reflecting the increasing tactical sophistication of World Cup football. The penalty shootout began with both teams converting their opening attempts before Marcio Santos missed Brazil's 3rd penalty, giving Italy a potential advantage. However, Daniele Massaro and Roberto Baggio both missed subsequent penalties for Italy, with Baggio's shot sailing over the crossbar in a moment that haunted the Italian superstar for years afterward. Brazil won the shootout 3-2, capturing their 4th World Cup title and ending a 24-year drought since their 1970 triumph. Baggio's miss became one of the most poignant images in World Cup history, demonstrating how the tournament's greatest stage could produce both triumph and devastating disappointment in equal measure. The 2014 World Cup semifinal between Brazil and Germany at the Estadio Mineiro in Belo Horizonte on July 8 shocked the football world with Germany's 7-1 demolition of the host nation in front of their devastated home crowd. Brazil entered the match with enormous pressure to reach the final on home soil, playing without suspended captain Thiago Silva and injured star Neymar, who had suffered a fractured vertebra in the quarterfinal against Colombia. The German team systematically dismantled Brazil's defense with 4 goals in 6 minutes between the 23rd and 29th minutes, including strikes from Thomas Müller, Miroslav Klose, Toni Kroos, and Sami Khedira that left Brazilian players and fans in stunned silence. The collapse was unprecedented in World Cup history as Brazil, playing at home with massive expectations, fell apart completely against Germany's clinical finishing and tactical superiority. Andre Schürrle added 2 more goals in the second half before Oscar scored a consolation goal for Brazil, but the damage was irreversible both on the scoreboard and psychologically. The defeat became known as the Minirazzo in reference to the stadium where it occurred and joined the Maracanazo of 1950 as one of Brazil's most traumatic World Cup experiences. Germany's performance demonstrated how tactical preparation and mental strength could overcome emotional advantages and home support, while Brazil's collapse showed how pressure and absent key players could destroy even the most talented teams. This match fundamentally changed perceptions about Brazilian football invincibility and highlighted the ruthless efficiency that characterized Germany's path to their fourth World Cup title. The 1986 World Cup quarterfinal between Argentina and England at the Estadio Azteca in Mexico City on June 22 produced two of the most famous goals in World Cup history through Diego Maradona's contrasting displays of cunning and genius. The match carried additional emotional weight due to the Falklands War that had occurred 4 years earlier between the two nations, creating political tensions that elevated the sporting stakes. Maradona's first goal came from a clear handball that referee Ali bin Nasser failed to detect, with the Argentine later claiming divine intervention by calling it the Hand of God goal. The controversial nature of the goal sparked immediate protests from English players, particularly goalkeeper Peter Shilton, but the decision stood and gave Argentina a crucial advantage. 4 minutes later, Maradona produced what became known as the goal of the century by dribbling past 5 English players from his own half, beginning with a pass from Hector Enrique and ending with a composed finish past Shilton. The goal showcased Maradona's exceptional dribbling ability, balance, and acceleration as he weaved through Terry Butcher, Terry Fenwick, Gary Stevens, and Peter Reid before rounding the goalkeeper. England managed to score through Gary Lineker with 10 minutes remaining, but Argentina held on to advance to the semifinals and eventually win the tournament. These two goals perfectly encapsulated Maradona's complex legacy as both a controversial figure and football genius. While the match became a defining moment in World Cup folklore that continues to be analyzed and debated decades later, the 2022 World Cup final between Argentina and France at Lusail Stadium in Qatar on December 18 produced what many consider the greatest World Cup final ever played, featuring Lionel Messi's crowning achievement and Kylian Mbappe's historic hat-trick performance. Argentina entered the final seeking their first World Cup title since 1986, with Messi playing in what was widely expected to be his final World Cup tournament at age 35. The match appeared to be heading toward a comfortable Argentine victory after goals from Messi and Angel Di Maria gave them a 2-0 lead, with France looking sluggish and unable to create meaningful chances through the first 79 minutes. However, Mbappe transformed the final with 2 goals in 97 seconds. First converting a penalty in the 80th minute before volleying home a perfectly weighted cross from Marcus Thuram just 97 seconds later to level the match at 2-2. The dramatic comeback sent the match into extra time, where Messi appeared to secure victory with his second goal in the 108th minute, only for Mbappe to complete his hat-trick from the penalty spot in the 118th minute after a handball. The penalty shootout saw Argentina prevail 4-2, with Gonzalo Montiel converting the decisive penalty to give Messi his long-awaited World Cup triumph. Mbappe's hat-trick made him only the second player to achieve this feat in a World Cup final, joining Geoff Hurst from 1966, while also earning him the Golden Boot with 8 goals throughout the tournament. The final was viewed by an estimated 1.5 billion people worldwide and featured 28 shots, 6 goals, and countless moments of individual brilliance that exemplified why football is called the beautiful game. Messi's victory completed his legendary career while establishing this final as a timeless classic that showcased the World Cup's ability to produce unforgettable drama on its grandest stage. These moments represent the pinnacle of World Cup drama, each featuring unique circumstances and extraordinary performances that shaped football history. From Brazil's artistic brilliance to Germany's clinical efficiency, these matches demonstrated how the World Cup stage could produce legendary results that transcend sport and become part of global cultural memory.